Good to see y'all. Come close. I don't bite. I got stuff to show you. You can't see it from far away. Trust me. So I brought a couple of things this morning that you might not be familiar with. First is mustard seeds. Here, I got some that you can see. Look how small they are. Pass them around so everybody can see. See how small those are? Now, to tell you the truth, I bit one, and guess what? It does not taste like mustard. And the other thing I brought, oh, here it is. Oh, here's another mustard seed. Pass them around so everybody gets to see. The other thing I brought is some yeast. We'll talk about the yeast in a minute. Pass them around. Share them with your neighbor. Here's some, see, this is yeast. So let me talk about the mustard seed first. It's small, but it grows into a bush. Now remember, Jesus was a carpenter, not a farmer, so he doesn't exactly understand how small mustard shrubs are. But anyway, the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed that someone took and sowed in his field. It's the smallest of all seeds, but when it has grown, it is the greatest of shrubs and becomes a tree, so that birds of the air come and make their nest in its branches. Now, what can we learn from the mustard seed? Well, even though we're small, by our baptism, God has hugged us and made us part of God's life and God's love, and God wants us to grow and help people understand that the love of God is so big, there's room for everybody to nest in those branches. And just like the yeast, you take some flour, about 2.5 cups, and some water, and a little bit of salt, and maybe some sugar, and you put the yeast in there, and if you don't put the yeast in there, it stays a bunch of glue. But if you put the yeast in and set it aside, cover it up, it raises into the dough that you can use to make some bread. And Jesus wants us to understand that because we're baptized, because God has put God's own love and grace in our hearts, we too can grow the love of God and feed everyone with God's own love. Now, remember this. Jesus' work was in a small area of the world, kind of maybe as big as Carmel, maybe as big as Marion and Hamilton County together. And Jesus had 12 men and about half a dozen women, and they started the church. And now the church fills the whole world. And we get to be part of that worldwide movement to grow the love of God and the love of our neighbor until the cows come home. All right. Now, you're all part of that. Just because you're small, we're all small. Just some of us think we're bigger than you, but trust me, we ain't. We may be taller and fatter and older, but there's no room in God's eyes to see that somebody doesn't count, okay? Can you remember that? All righty. Thanks for being with me this morning.